Hi everybody and welcome back to Love English. I'm Sabrah and I'm a British University English teacher. Now today I have a grammar lesson for you. A little bit more of a serious topic but super useful, and this is suitable for intermediate up to advanced levels. So in this class today, we're going to look at the rules for gerunds and infinitives, and also the cases where we can actually use either a gerund or infinitive, so a verb that can be followed by both. However, how this changes the meaning. Guys, if you're new to our channel, then make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell so you get notified when we upload a lesson. And if you're a regular viewer of our channel, then why haven't you subscribed yet? Go on, hit that red button. Also guys, you can check out our website www.loveenglish.co.uk and follow us on our social media at Love English UK. Before we get started guys, I have an important question to ask you, and that is, how many of you are actually practicing your English, so speaking English with a native speaker on a regular basis? I'm guessing that may not be too many of you, as lots of you write to us and say, I really want to practice my English, I don't know how to practice my English. So if you want to practice your English more with a native speaker, which of course is super important for developing your levels of fluency and getting to higher levels of fluency, then we do have a great recommendation for you. There is an English language teaching app called Cambly, and this is actually currently the most affordable English language teaching app which is out there at the moment. So it's very good for people who may have a little bit of a lower budget. But also, you don't have to have an hour's lesson or even half an hour. You can actually just have 15 minutes of practice at a time to top up, if you like. So if you're super busy, if you're a super busy bee, which I know lots of you are, then this could be great for you. Just 15 minutes, twice a week, 3 times a week. It's going to really improve your levels of fluency. Something else that I really love about Camberley is that you can choose the tutor according to their interests. So for example, say you want to have more speaking lessons and discussion, you can actually find a tutor who has similar interests to you, and then you can talk about your hobbies and your interests if this is something that you want to do. However, if you want to learn in a more serious way, you can also do that, as they have exam teachers available on there, so you can learn FCE, CAE, IELTS and TOEFL and everything like that. Their tutors are also available 24/7, so they can really fit around you. Now we have some great discounts to offer you if you do decide to go with Camberley. You can get 15 minutes free, so you can just try them out using leila-sabrah. And if you want multiple lessons, you can actually get 10% off any kind of plan that you choose by using this code, leila-sabrah10. So you can find the link to download the Cambly app in the description box below. Why not give them a try, guys? You get 15 minutes for free. So why not try them out and see if you like it? Right, let's get started. The rules of gerunds and infinitives. So first of all, what actually is a gerund? A gerund is a verb that can actually behave like a noun. So it's a bit of a double act, if you like. It can be 2 things. Now let me show you an example. I like to dance. I like to dance. Here, dance is a verb, I is the subject. However, if we say dancing is good for you, dancing is good for you, here, dancing has actually become the subject of this sentence, therefore making this verb here act like a noun. It is behaving like a noun, which means it is a gerund. So in sentences where a verb actually behaves like a noun, where it becomes the subject of the sentence, you need to add that ing form. Other examples are taking the train was the quickest way to arrive, or seeing is believing. In both cases here, the verb is behaving like a noun, which makes it a gerund. Now some verbs must be followed by gerunds and some must be followed by infinitives. Now verbs which must be followed by a gerund include enjoy, suggest, miss, finish, can't stand, avoid, admit, complete, imagine, repeat, risk. They must be followed by a gerund. For example, I don't want to risk losing all my money. I can't stand being told off. I finished doing all my grammar exercises. Now, a very helpful rule when it comes to the gerund is that if you have a preposition in the sentence, often connected to a verb, then that preposition must be followed by a gerund. I look forward to seeing you soon. To is a preposition, so we need that gerund. Another example would be, she succeeded in passing her IELTS. Leila is good at teaching grammar. Okay, so remember that rule, guys. If you're using a verb after a preposition, it should be in the gerund form, not the infinitive. Okay, so moving on to looking at infinitives. Let's do a quick explanation of what an infinitive is. So an infinitive is the verb in its base form, so for example, its present simple form, plus to. For example, to go. You can also have a bare infinitive, which is the infinitive without to. So some examples of verbs which need to be followed by infinitives are agree, aim, attempt, want, offer, wish, be able, choose, hope. And there are many more, so again, check that list below. For example, you could say, I hope to travel the world next year, or I hope to be fluent in English by next year. If you change this and use a gerund, it sounds really bad. So if you say, I hope traveling the world next year, it sounds so wrong. So make sure you actually learn these and learn which verbs are followed by a gerund or an infinitive. There are also some verbs which actually need an object and then the infinitive, as we need something that the action is happening to. So this is quite common in reported speech, for example. This doesn't mean that the verb always needs an object, but in some cases where we need something that the action is happening to, then you will need an object with that infinitive. For example, with the verb advise, you're usually advising someone to do something. So we need to say, I advised her, or I advised him, or she advised me, and then the infinitive. Some other examples of these verbs are remind, ask, invite, expect. For example, I needed to remind myself to stop eating so much junk food. Or he invited me to go for dinner. I asked him to make the dinner reservation. Again, you'll find a list below of the verbs that need an object plus an infinitive. Okay, now moving on to some of the verbs which can take either the gerund or the infinitive, but the meaning changes. So unfortunately, I don't have time to do all of these verbs today, but I can always make a part 2 of this video because I have a feeling that some of you guys are going to have some questions, and there are some other rules to cover as well. So don't worry that we haven't covered them all. I'm covering really today the most common ones. So today we're looking at stop, remember, forget, and try. Okay, so with the verb to stop, if you stop to do something, you have stopped your previous activity to do another activity. So for example, you could say, I stopped to answer the phone, meaning you stopped working or you stopped gardening or whatever you were doing to answer the phone. If you say you stopped doing something, you've stopped doing this activity altogether. For a while, maybe you have suspended doing this activity. So you've stopped doing this activity, maybe for an extended period of time, or maybe for a short time, but you're not doing that activity at the moment. For example, if you say, I've stopped working late at night, it means at the moment you're not working late at night. Let's look at 2 sentences and compare the differences. I stopped to do some shopping. I stopped to do some shopping. I've stopped shopping. I was spending too much money. Oops, I really need to stop going shopping. So hopefully, guys, you can clearly see the difference. Stop to do is when we stop our current activity to do another activity. It can be that we were interrupted, for example. And stop doing, we're not doing that activity for a while. We're definitely not doing it at the moment. Okay, the next one is remember. So if you remember doing something, you have the memory of it. So remember plus gerund is that you have the memory of it, or maybe you don't have the memory of it, for example, but it's connected to your memories. Remember to do is when you need to do something. For example, I must remember to make a doctor's appointment. You want to remember and you need to remember to do that thing. So it's more like a reminder or something that you have to do. Let's look at 2 sentences again and compare the differences. I remember visiting my grandma. So here we're remembering. Oh, I remember visiting my grandma when I was younger. She was always feeding me lots of nice food. Now let's look at this with the infinitive. I remembered to visit my grandma. Here we're saying I needed to remember to go and see her, to go and visit my grandma. It was something I needed to do, and I remembered it. I remembered to do that. The verb to forget works in a similar way. If you say forget with a gerund, you're talking about your memories. If you say forget with an infinitive, you're talking about something that you needed to do that you've actually forgotten. Or you might be reminding yourself not to forget to do that thing. So again, it's something that we ought to do. Again, let's look at 2 sentences and compare the difference. Oh, I forgot to study for my IELTS last night. I forgot to study for my IELTS last night. You needed to remember to study, but you forgot to. Oh, I've forgotten studying like this for IELTS. It's been such a long time. So here, the person is saying they've forgotten what it was like to study for their IELTS. So they've forgotten that experience. So again, it's about memory. To forget doing something means you don't have a memory of doing that thing. Okay, the last one is the verb to try. If you put try with an infinitive, this is something that you're putting effort into, so you're really trying, but your success is mixed. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So if you say, I tried to open that jar, but I couldn't, it was stuck, you're saying that you tried, you put effort into it, but you didn't succeed. Or if we say, I tried to work out every morning, you're saying, this is something I put effort into. I try to work out every morning. Maybe I don't always do it, but I'm really trying to do that. So when we use try with a gerund, it's more of an experiment. It's something that you're testing or seeing if you like it or seeing if it works. So for example, you might say, try adding salt to the dish. It might taste nicer if you try adding salt. It's an experiment. Let's look at 2 sentences and compare the difference. Have you tried going to dance classes? I try to go to my dance class every week. I try to go to my dance class every week. So in the first one, the person is saying, you should try this thing. It's an experiment. Have you tried going to dance classes? In the second sentence with the infinitive, the speaker puts effort into trying to get to their dance class every week. Now, a little bit of homework, guys, is to try writing, see, an experiment, some of those sentences below. So for example, try writing one with an infinitive and one with a gerund and compare the difference, and I will check them and see if they are correct. You can actually write a sentence below using any of the gerunds and infinitives that we've learned in this lesson, but do make sure you leave those sentences in the comments below. Do let me know, guys, if you would like a part 2 on this to cover some of the things that we haven't covered in this lesson, and perhaps I can also use it to answer your questions, so do let me know about that as well. As always, guys, it's a pleasure to be here with you. We'll see you soon on Love English. Bye-bye. Now we're very helpful.